What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kyed. Welcome to the Pat's Chat podcast. Joined here by Michael F. Hurley, as usual. Michael, how are we doing this morning? It's
What's up,
early.
Doug? I know we're mixing it up. You can see I'm on the beach with the two football scene from Top Gun Maverick, and I told you I had a surprise to start off the bat, which is real equipment, which means I have this board with some buttons that light up. I want to hit one. I don't know if it's gonna work. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That worked.
Wow. Some
All
nice
right.
royalty-free music.
All right, one more. Pat's Chat podcast with Doug and Mike. Welcome to the Pat's Chat podcast. That was awesome. I'm glad
That's awesome. You gotta get some like really fun drops in there.
All right, Pat's Chat.
That second one really had an unnecessarily long lead up to it.
Yeah, I think I've heard it on like Kiss 108, so it must be like the basis for that. But we stole it and it's ours now.
There we go.
Pat's
Sorry,
Chat
Kiss 108.
podcast.
That's Pat's Chat podcast.
If we do 13 minutes on the O line again, I'm gonna officially end it with one of those. That's the new game.
All right, let's talk about the offensive line. Just kidding.
Can I start?
Christian Barmore.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean that's the big news, but I just want to start with a
Yeah.
quick mea culpa because we are accountable on this show. And
A Drake Maye culpa.
Yeah, a Drake mea culpa, because Sunday I said he was like okay average, and like it wasn't like a great game for him, wasn't a bad game, which is still mostly true. But once the all 22 dropped on Monday with that 1st and 10 throw to Booty right before halftime, like on TV it looked fine, it looked like a post. That throw was sick. That throw was special. Like the arm talent on that throw was outstanding. It was the coverage underneath and over the top, like, and it was like right where the hands were. That throw was special. So we knew the Austin Hooper one was special. That one was special. So I would add that to the pile of really impressive things he did on Sunday. And
KJ Osborne non-touchdown, I would argue was pretty special as well.
The end zone angle of that still makes no sense. It's like he threw like one of those trick footballs you throw at the beach with like the kids or something.
Yeah, like it should have drifted out of bounds based on where he released it, how he released it, everything, but somehow it instead found its way into KJ Osborne's hands, which
it was like a wiffle ball when you throw it sort of like the backwards curve ball and you don't know which way it's kind of bends like a screwball, like a two-seamer. That was I don't know what happened there. That was a sick play. It's too bad Osborne went out of bounds.
Yeah, and I think it's still fair to say that overall it wasn't necessarily like the best quarterbacking performance because of the interception, because of the near interception to Hunter Henry in the end zone. But like all you need to see, all Patriots fans and the Patriots need to see are the potential for those special plays, which keep popping up every single week with Drake Maye. So good Drake Maye culpa there from you, Mike. We're losing all of the listeners that we possibly have with that
blowing out speakers,
high-pitched squealing background music. But yeah, I mean, at least the news of this morning is that Christian Barmore returned to practice today, or at least that is the expectation. Got that confirmed from a source. And it's not that surprising because Gerard Mayo said yesterday that he could return to practice either this week or next week. And it's this week. Still not sure exactly what that means for when he can actually get back on a game field. But I do think that, obviously they wouldn't be doing this if his health was at risk. I think it is worth seeing what the defense can look like with Christian Barmore on the field. And I don't think it's a good idea for him to take an entire year off of football. So as long as all the doctors are saying this is smart, this is the right thing to do, that he's okay, then I think that this is good. This is positive for everyone involved.
I agree. There's many injuries over the years that we as football guys have learned to understand pretty well, more than we ever could. I don't know how much time. Like if you ever I forget. Oh, it was Jimmy Garoppolo's AC joint. Like I learned so much about AC joints. I talked to a doctor. Like I was like, there are certain things about. Blood clots is not one of them. So I'm going to leave this one up and assume that it would have to be approved on like several different levels before returning to professional sports is allowed. So that would be, I mean, the only experience we have in New England recently would be David Andrews, who did miss the year. But I don't know. I'm going to say every situation is different, and we don't know this one. So if it's safe, I'm with you. It's probably, you might say like, oh well, it's a lost year anyway. What good does it do? I'm with you. Any NFL player missing a year is probably, if you could avoid it, is probably worth avoiding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good to keep him involved. He's been involved. He's been in the locker room. He's been around. And yeah, I mean, if he had played that game last week against the Bears, who knows? Maybe they have like 10 sacks. Maybe they have 11 sacks.
I don't know if that's physically possible to get any more sacks than they had. But I'm with you. I'm sorry for my camera manipulation. I just want to make sure I look as good as possible for you.
That you're just straight in the middle of those two footballs. It's perfect right now. Kind of like sort of, if you're like looking briefly, it possibly looks like you have like horns coming out of your headphones.
There we go. I wanted my head to match your head.
There we go. We have matching heads. The Patriots were so good on Sunday against the Bears that they fired their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to use like the bingo card thing, but like I would not have necessarily said that the Patriots defense, even like 2 weeks ago, would be so good this season that an offensive coordinator would be fired the next year. But that's what we saw. And I don't know. I don't think it's going to fix all the Bears' issues, but it was interesting that the Patriots defense forced that.
It does speak to it because we want to keep everything in context, where I was asking you Sunday about the vibes in that building, the booing, the just despair and despondence from Bears fans who had, I won't say high hopes, but hopes, like, you know, like not sub 500 through 10 weeks of the season. So it does speak to getting a team, but they got the Jaguars in that spot and blew it. They got the Dolphins in their lowest spot and blew it. The Patriots did. So to actually get a team, and it's the same point, to get a team like that and bully them is a good slight win. You know what I mean? Like not being able to do it, if you go in and you win that game 9-7, not quite as impressive. So I think it changes. Did you watch the 7.5-minute mic'd up video?
Yeah, I did.
There's something we were talking about vibes and positivity. There's something real about just doing that and getting through the year and getting to the next week. And again, with the week, 13 bye? Is that right?
Might be 14.
Wait, 14. Yeah, they have 3 games coming up. It's I think it's something that can just keep life in the Patriots building. So we're not going to overstate. We're not going to say they just beat the 99 Rams, but I think being able to see a vulnerable opponent and step on their throat is a something they didn't have even a month ago.
Yeah, and I tweeted the other day that really the only thing that the Patriots need to see this season was like some sort of improvement, which I don't know, maybe they're bad again this week. Who knows? But earlier in the season, they weren't able to beat the Jaguars. Last week, they weren't able to beat the Titans. And this week, they were able to beat the Bears. And I've seen certainly some criticism about the level of opponent against the Bears. I've also seen people say that Drake Maye is currently carrying this team. He's the only positive. I disagree with that. Drake Maye is great. Drake Maye is awesome. But I would give the Patriots defense the most credit for that win because they only allowed 3 points. And Drake Maye was certainly good, as we mentioned earlier, but that was not like necessarily a Drake Maye win in that one. And then someone also replied, and I obviously shouldn't just be like singling out people who reply to me, but someone else replied like, what would you say if Bill Belichick was still the coach? Would you still have the same opinion that all they would have to do is show some improvement? I mean, every situation is different if Bill Belichick is the coach, but ultimately, like if they came into the season with a win-loss over-under win total of like 4 or 3.5 or whatever it was for the Patriots, like, I don't know, I might be saying the same thing. Like if expectations are that low for a team as they were for the 2024 Patriots, all you can really hope for at that point is improvement. You can't be hoping for some sort of like crazy playoff berth.
Yeah, we're not a Bill Belichick podcast, but I do think expectations should and would be different if your head coach was making $25 million as opposed to Mayo. I think Lombardi once said he was making 8, which I don't know if that's public knowledge, but Lombardi somehow put it out there. So I do think it's interesting that the over under total is 4.5. That's going to be. I think they're getting there. I think they're going to get 5 wins.
Certainly could. It's looking that way.
They
Which
just
I
have to
mean, yeah,
they have to maintain their 300 winning percentage over their last 7 games, and they will go 2-5. That's
yeah,
how that works. But
and we'll get to that point if that happens. But I do feel like that's a win for Gerard Mayo. Obviously, if he finishes this season with more wins than the Patriots had last year.
you could argue it's a worse roster than last year.
I mean, a better quarterback situation, but overall, like, yeah, I mean, to not have, yeah, it's at least like you can't make a crazy claim that it's like significantly better,
Yeah.
right?
Like you had, I mean, even just putting us like you had David Andrews last year. You had Trent Brown for what that was worth. Like he was a real NFL tackle that you
Right. You
haven't had
had
this year.
more of a semblance of an actual offensive line last season. It still struggled, but it wasn't like it's not like Demontre J. Like this week, Gerard Mayo on Wednesday was saying, like, yeah, we expect to have the same offensive line as last week. Like, who knows, injuries can happen. But like when you're extremely happy that Demontre Jacobs is going to be starting 2 weeks in a row. And I think Demontre Jacobs has been fine. This is not a shot against Demontre Jacobs, but he's a player that the Patriots claimed on August 28th. Ben
Yeah.
Brown is a player that the Patriots signed off the Raiders practice squad. We're going to go 13 minutes on the Patriots offensive line right now, if you don't
Can we
mind.
do the technique on Layden Robinson? Because I find that when he's on the sorry, I messed that up.
But yeah, overall, I don't know. Like it's also possible the Patriots just lose every game for the rest of the season.
It's
And then
possible.
we're talking negatively about them by January. But
I just
things
think
are
there's
looking up.
games to be won. Like,
Yeah.
let's be real. Like this week is a game that could be won. I'm not picking
Mhm.
them. They're 4.5-point underdogs. But you watched the Rams on Monday night. There's something off about them, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't watched enough Rams to pinpoint it exactly, but we're just accustomed to seeing Matthew Stafford as like the trigger man for Sean McVay and it looking a certain way. And like we see Cooper Kupp out there, like the pieces are still there, but it's just not coalescing the way we're used to it looking. So I think I understand picking the Rams in this game, but I just think it's not quite like we would have thought in August or even last year. It's just something is off about that Rams team. And that game Monday night was one of the worst games of the year. So you take that in, the depression of that in the short week and the travel across the country. I think, again, I'm not picking the Patriots. If you put your money on the Patriots, you're a crazy person. I want to hang out with you. You seem like a fun time. But I would not rule them out of this game by any means.
No, I agree with that. And Sean McVay seems like someone who's like allergic to good offensive line play. I know that a
Yeah.
lot of that is probably the way that they built their roster to win a Super Bowl. Like you're probably not going to have a great offensive line because you have to draft those players high. I'm losing my voice here. So I think that that's probably why the offensive line has just been seemingly so bad for so many years now for them. But it's another year where that is seemingly a pretty big issue for the Rams, that offensive line, as it is every single year. And I don't know. I mean, like, I also I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to get 9 sacks this week, and because Matthew Stafford isn't going to sack himself as often as Caleb Williams did. But I do think that last week the Patriots finally figured out how to marry coverage and pressure to deliver some pressure, and I'm very curious to see if that can happen 2 weeks in a row now.
Have you looked at the stats?
No, I've never looked at any stats.
Okay, these stats.
Which specific stats?
These stats that I've looked at because I knew they weren't good. Matthew Stafford has 9 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Yeah,
That's bananas.
he was without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp for quite a while, so that certainly didn't help. Those guys looked more capable last week.
I can't say, and I say can't, like, I don't know if he's just old and isn't good now, if he's processing things more slowly. I mean, he is getting older. He's 36 years old, not that old, but not every quarterback excels in their late 30s. So I don't think it's just him. I think it's sort of a collective, but I mean, it's jarring. Cooper Kupp's the leading receiver with 382 yards.
Right.
He used to do that in a half.
It's very true.
That's not true. But do you want some stats, by the way?
Yeah, I want more stats.
Would you like stats from someone named Theo Ash or from someone named Evan Lazar?
Either one.
I'm giving you both. I'm giving you both.
Does a good job on TikTok, I think. Evan Lazar. It's a good job for Patriots.com.
Yeah. So they both did this week. They just compared Brissett to Maye stats for the Patriots. Did you see these?
No.
I feel like Jalen. Did you see this, folks? Did you see this? All right. So we'll start with Theo Ash. Just going by the starts, Evan got a little more granular with the actual dropbacks because Maye started a game and left. So in Maye starts, the Patriots are averaging 19.6 points per game as opposed to 12.4 points per game with Brissett, which by my math is a touchdown difference, more than a touchdown difference. This one's cool. In Maye starts, the Patriots have an explosive play on 13.5% of dropbacks as opposed to 7.6% of Brissett starts, which is double. Again, I'm really good at math. So they have explosive plays twice as often when Maye starts. And then they have the EPA at 0.01 for Maye and negative 0.23 for Brissett. I'll never know what that means. I know you do. I don't care. If you go to Evan, he's got the points per game. Now, again, it's a little more split. So it's 18.8 to 13.0. So if you take in Brissett coming in for Maye and that, the EPA per drop pack minus 0.02 for Drake. So call it even minus 0.119 for without Drake Maye. Yards per attempt is 1.2 yards more with Maye. The touchdown rate goes from 4.7% with Maye to 1.3% without. The interception rate goes way up with Maye, 3.4% as opposed to 0.6. The pressure rate goes way down, which we give, I believe we give the quarterback credit to. I saw a great video of, who was it? It was one of those Twitter NFL guys, maybe the Cowboy guy. And it was like, everyone's talking about the Bears offensive line and the Patriots is still like by far the worst. It's just Maye masks a lot of it. So I I know that's a lot of numbers for an audio medium, but there's some jarring ones in there.
No, absolutely. And I do give Drake Maye a lot of credit for the better offensive line performance. I will say that in week 8, when Drake Maye and Jacoby Brissett both played in that game, the Patriots had a 30.8 pressure rate with Jacoby Brissett and a 30% pressure rate with Drake Maye. So I also do think that the offensive line has settled a bit since the beginning of the season. But overall, things have been much more positive, much more efficient, much more productive, much more explosive with Drake Maye at quarterback. And I think that will continue. And I think that winning a game with him under center was really big last week. He hadn't proven that he could do that before, and he proved that last week. So all in all, I think that Drake Maye is a reason to believe that the Patriots can win maybe 2 more games by the end of the season, when I might not feel the same way if Jacoby Brissett was a quarterback.
Yep. All right, next topic.
Sorry. You mentioned the mic'd up earlier. And I thought that you began to make, or you did make a good point, but
Thanks,
you reminded
Doug.
me of something in that.
Thank you.
And
I agree. I made a good point. Thank you. You want to talk? Thank you.
So I watched Caleb Williams last week. We've watched Aaron Rodgers, it seems like, in a primetime game every single week this season. Since 2021, we watched a lot of Mac Jones. And I would say that the body language and outward frustration from Drake Maye is completely incomparable to those 3 other quarterbacks. I can't, maybe at some point Drake Maye gets to the point where he's yelling at wide receivers or folding his arms or whatever, but I just can't really imagine that from Drake Maye. And I actually asked him about it yesterday, and he was like, no, it comes naturally. He's very even keeled. And he mentioned that sometimes he can show frustration at practice, and that's a good time to motivate your teammates and tell them they can do better on these things. And but I do think that's an important distinction, to show frustration in practice and not do it in front of a national audience on TV. And for some reason, some quarterbacks just can't do that. They can't help themselves but to have bad body language or to yell at wide receivers. And obviously Tom Brady kind of yelled at guys as well, but it never, maybe this is just our bias, but it never really struck me the same way that it did with guys like Aaron Rodgers or Mac Jones doing it. And I don't know. Overall, my point is just that it's good. It's a good thing that Drake Maye isn't doing that there's really no signs that he's going to start doing that, and that he takes a lot of the blame himself when there's mistakes on offense.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned Mac Jones, because that's what we're obviously used to. And there was just when when I talk this way, you can't hear anything. Very directional microphone. When you're the quarterback, you have to be a leader. You have to get people to believe in you. And that's tricky when you're a rookie and there are big, wealthy, successful men that have been in the league around you. Maybe it's easier with the offensive line because a lot of them haven't been successful. But the point is, there was clips of him on the sideline being like, "It's us, it's us 6. Let's go do this." And it's just like it has to just be natural and believable.
Yeah.
And if you're a phony, it's clear. And I think this goes back to I remember talking in May or April or June. Well, I guess it was May. But Drake Maye went to the Celtics game and met up with Jason Tatum beforehand and wasn't like, for lack of a better term, wasn't like a dork about it. He was like, "Oh, cool. What's up, man? Yeah, my brother played at UNC, like blah, blah, blah. Like he played against you, blah, blah." And he was just naturally not cool, like, "Well, he's so cool,"
Right.
but just naturally cool. He wasn't overdoing anything. He just seems to be comfortable, which you can't like teach. You can't fake. You just either are or you aren't. So I would say it's a positive that he has that.
Yeah, and this certainly is not a Mac Jones podcast. He was put in a difficult situation, I think, for like many times over the last 3 years.
You just can't ever shake the children photos of him with the sweater and the tennis. Like it just like he had like spoiled brat vibes.
And I mean, well, in that I'm not going to necessarily blame him for, but the fact that it translated onto the field, I think you can. And he's out there screaming at Matt Patricia and everything. And like, yeah,
Which
maybe in that same
fully.
situation, I would have been screaming at Matt Patricia too.
Right.
But it just it kept happening. I think it did rub a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of that's a nightmare. I don't blame him for yelling at Matt Patricia that the quick game sucks because Matt, for all of his football, not a Matt Patricia podcast, for all of his football acumen and the great work he does on the Coach podcast with Bill Belichick, just didn't know how to run an offense, which would be expected of someone who had never done it and was trying to do it in the NFL. Like that's insane. And it still was insane. So I'll never hold that part against Mac Jones, but I do think there was an element of Mac that was just sort of not inspirational as a leader,
Right.
like he
didn't necessarily come as easy as it does for
again, it's not like he could have worked on it or anything. Like you kind of either have it or you don't. And Brady was a different animal. We don't even need to go there.
Right.
We could.
And just what was that?
We could go there. Like Tom Brady's great.
Maybe let's save that for after the season. We'll do the Deflategate podcast and we'll do a podcast about how great Tom Brady was. It'll be like a 6-part. Did you know that there's a documentary on HBO Max or on Max?
On Max.
About Ted Turner that is 6 parts. There's a 6-part documentary about Ted Turner on Max.
Nobody needed that.
6 parts. I couldn't believe my eyes. I can't. Obviously, there are people out there who would be interested in Ted Turner enough to watch a documentary, but like maybe like 1 part, maybe like an hour and a half.
I could do 45 minutes because I liked watching the Braves on TBS when I was a kid. Don't really care about much else. I mean, he brought me Saved by the Bell as a child, which was huge. As a kid, I thought those were like new, but it had been out for quite some time at that point. So I'm thankful for that. So there's 45 minutes, I'll grant you. If we're doing grab bag part of the show, speaking of Tom Brady yelling on the sidelines, famously Bill O'Brien, had that kind of made Bill O'Brien's career, I swear, because he stood up to Tom Brady. Did you see what happened to BC this week?
Their quarterback is transferring.
Their quarterback got benched and just pieced out.
Yeah.
O'Brien was like, I'm going to give him a couple days away from the team, and he just immediately entered the transfer portal. That's not good. I've seen him play. I went to the Louisville game.
Yeah.
I've seen him play plenty over the past few years. Not that good. Not that good. Like I'm not at all qualified to make this ranking, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's probably like the 73rd best quarterback in the nation.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That seems pretty accurate. I mean, it was really fun when BC was good for those few weeks, but the BC Renaissance really did not last very long. And I'm looking at the ACC standings right now, and Boston College is 11th. Which actually sounds worse than it is because it looks like there's about 16 teams in the ACC now at this point. Yeah. I don't want to be a boomer and an old man and everything like that, but like, I don't think I'm 38 years old. I don't think I will ever get used to the new college football conferences.
I have just intentionally not learned anything about which like Stanford's in the ACC, news to me, because I see it all as temporary. Like something big is going to happen there that just blows it all up. Right. Like, I don't need to know that SMU is in first place in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
There are 17 teams in the ACC right now. And and SMU is one of them.
Stanford, Cal.
I mean, it's a joke, obviously, that Stanford and Cal are in the
Yeah,
Atlantic
like
Coast Conference.
I'll give you like Syracuse.
Yeah, but
That's fine.
SMU in the middle of Texas,
Yeah.
Stanford and Cal, very much not Atlantic Ocean.
Did I ever tell my Louisville story? This is Patriots.
Mm,
This is past chat. I was at a Bruins
no.
game. I was up in the balcony, and my friend and I saw this couple rows down behind the net that were empty for the first two periods. So we went down there for the third to take the seats,
Mhm.
and they were taken. We're like, "What the hell? These people weren't here." And we realized very quickly it was the Louisville football team who were in town to play the Fenway Bowl
Oh
against
wow.
who would their rival be? Kentucky. Their coach had left to join their rival. So their
Mm.
interim head coach was
Who?
Louisville legend, Super Bowl 39 MVP, Deion Branch.
Oh wow.
And so I was sitting with these kids and we started talking to him, and I was like, "Do you guys know what a badass your head coach was?" Like, I was explaining to them, like, the catches he made in the Super Bowl while getting absolutely plowed by the Panthers. Like, I had explained because they were, this was a couple of years ago. They were all probably 21.
Probably,
That they were babies. They were in their footy
yeah,
pajamas when.
literal children.
So I had
Wow.
explained to them what a badass their head coach was, and I hope I did a good job. I think they might have even won that bowl game.
Wow. Well, maybe Deion Branch, future head coach. Maybe, I mean,
Anyways,
teams teams could possibly use him as a wide receivers coach. I don't know.
you never know.
Give that another shot. Troy Brown didn't work out, but
That's
who
true.
knows?
One last point is the point of the Castellanos thing is like, man, you want to talk about a boomer take? It's like I'm for the transfer portal and all that. Like players should have the same freedom as coaches, but like to do it right after you got benched in the middle of the season, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't know what they can do about any of this, but it's becoming I don't know, tough to follow, I would say. When yeah, he's going to be on his third college team. Like pro players don't move around that much in
Yeah,
like
it's
whatever
a
it is,
small
4 or
window of
5
time.
years. Yeah, it's just like these guys are switching teams after every season, and I certainly don't blame them for wanting to start somewhere and like having a better opportunity and everything like that. But it's a lot of picking up and moving. I can't imagine attending 3 colleges during my time when I was like 18 to 21 years old. But
I had trouble attending one. It was a lot of work.
same here.
Days
But
like today when that cold hits, like that November cold, and my school was right in the water.
yeah,
Um, you went to the city, right? So like it
yeah,
was different. You get those wind
city boy.
tunnels.
Yeah, oh,
They
there's a lot of wind tunnels. Yeah,
they shoot right in, and you're just like, why am I here? Like I could have every day I would walk sometimes. So Roger Williams, small campus, but from South Campus to North Campus is like a 15, 20-minute walk at
mm,
7:30 in the morning with the wind, and you're just like, I could have gone to school anywhere else.
yeah.
Literally anywhere but the ocean in Rhode Island, and yet here I am. Idiot. Moron.
Big dummy. I'm trying to think if there's do we think that what would you do about the wide receiver situation heading into this game? Would you give Kendrick Bourne his job back? Who are you playing this week?
Hold on. Ask me that again. Say, what would you do?
What would you do?
Yeah, Bourne's back out there. No one did anything last week that made you say, all right, we're cooking
Yep.
now. Bourne has not been very good this year, but I would trust him to have a sort of bounce back. He's handled, you talk about Mac Jones like pouting and fighting and kicking. Kendrick Bourne has handled a lot of BS in his short time here.
He
This is
truly has.
obviously not as bad as what was it 2022 when he was benched for the whole year.
Yeah.
Basically, this is not quite that level, but they're definitely harder on him, and probably
Yeah.
rightfully so. He should be not perfect, but he should be able to dot his I's and cross his T's a little bit more than the rookies. But they're hard on him, and
They
he
are.
seems to take that well. Maybe they know that about him.
Hmm.
For all of the he's kind of a glitzy player with the sunglasses and the jewelry and he's got a lot of swag. And usually a
Hmm.
player with that level of swag doesn't like being told he messed up or isn't perfect, but he seems to, at least publicly,
Yeah.
handle it with maturity, and I think he can channel that the right way.
He just always has a smile on his face. I talked to him about the benching yesterday, and he was very self-aware about it. He said that like I don't know if I was playing so bad that it like reached the level. He didn't say it in those terms, but paraphrasing, essentially, like, I don't know if I was playing that bad to warrant being benched, but he's also taking some time to be reflective and say, like, hey, there's a reason why they did this. There's a reason why they benched me. So for those reasons, I'm going to try to be better. I'm going to try to be more crisp and try to have good practices and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, I think once again, he is handling this with a lot of maturity, and yeah, that's ultimately good. I'm trying to find his exact quote right now because I really don't want to.
I like the paraphrase, to be honest with you. I think you nailed it.
I just hope I don't like. So just flying with myself, what I see and evaluate myself honestly, so I can be better. I didn't think it was that crazy bad, but I definitely could be better, and I'm looking at it like that. So that's his exact words. That wasn't so crazy bad that maybe it warranted the benching, but there we are. And yeah, no, I would play him. I would give KJ Osborne snaps back over to Kendrick Bourne at this point.
Yeah, and I just I searched his name and see him jumping off the field, celebrating after the win. So he was into it. Did you hear that?
What?
Did that come through? Okay. I played audio by accident, and it came to my headphones. I don't know if it went to you.
No.
Good.
I didn't hear that. No, I mean, like, he was also, I asked him if he was surprised that he was active in that game because he didn't play. He was like, yeah, I was surprised. He was like, yeah, no, it's good. Like he looked at it as like a positive that they had even dressed him and given him the opportunity that if something had happened, he had played. Whereas like some other players would be like not necessarily looking at that positively and that optimistically. So absolutely good on him. We'll see what happens this week. But anything else you think the Patriots should do this week that they have not been doing in the past?
I think they should run a trick play for more than 7 yards. I think they should try something different. No, I would say, I mean, they have to run the ball. Like, if they can't run the ball, we saw how dismal it can be and how much it puts on Drake May's shoulders. I loved the fact that Drake Maye was able to just play quarterback like a normal person last week and not be Superman. So that is a big thing to me to sort of base everything else off of. It makes everyone look better. It makes Alex Van Pelt look better. It makes Gerard Mayo look better. It makes guys like Keyshawn Boutte better. I just think there are, I don't want to overstate it, but it feels like everything that they want, it makes the defense better because they're not going out there every 4 plays. There's fewer 3 and outs. Like, it makes everything better. And that's not enough to win you the game, but it's enough to make you look like a representative NFL team, which is kind of the goal right now. And so, unfortunately, it's going to be like 64 degrees on Sunday. So you don't have the Rams coming in being a little shaken by the cold, but
true.
Let's see. I have the opponents average 4.3 yards per rush against the Rams this year, averaging 127.6 yards per game, 7 rushing touchdowns, which isn't a lot of touchdowns, but if you can run the ball, you should have a chance. And I thought last week, like, Stevenson had looked pretty good those 2 previous weeks, despite the fact that he had like 10 yards. He can get you there. So that's key to me. Run the ball.
Yeah, running the ball, huge. Yannick Ngakoue. I always thought it was Yannick Ngakoue, but it's Yannick Ngakoue. First of all, it just makes me feel old that a player who was drafted in 2016 is like, this guy's on the back end of his career. Like, he's been on 7 teams, all these things. I'm like, that's impossible. He was definitely drafted in like 2012.
The Pats Eagles Super Bowl, the Pats Jaguars AFC Championship game, that was 3 years ago, max.
Right. Yeah. That was not his second season in the NFL. That seems impossible, but I don't know. Curious to see what he can do. He hasn't done a whole lot over the last few years of his career, but an interesting claim. I know we probably talked about it a little bit on Sunday's podcast, but I don't know. I didn't hate the move. You trade away Joshua Uche, and then you can bring in Yannick Ngakoue to possibly do the same thing, and you get a draft pick out of it. So all in all, we'll see how it goes, but don't hate it.
Talk about being on a lot of teams. If you go to Ngakoue's Pro Football Reference page, he already has 2 numbers for the Patriots.
That is
55 and 97. He's got the Jaguars, the Vikings, the Ravens, the Raiders, the Colts, the Bears, and 2 Patriots numbers in a week.
And he was on the Ravens again.
Yes, there's 2 different, but he did keep the same number. So lucky.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I loved him back in 2017 when my Jags. I was a big Jaguars guy. You might remember. He was very good then, but that was unfortunately a long time ago. So I would say expectations lower than medium, but a guy you probably don't mind having in there just for experience and maybe one big play every 4 games. That would be a success for a claim like that.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's certainly possible if they can have more games like they had on Sunday that they'll be leading in more games, that players can actually pin their ears back and
I
get
hate
out the
that
pass on
thing.
third down.
I don't want to pick on you. I just hate it. I've always hated it.
I did think about it as I was saying it, like, what
Everyone says it.
is it like a cat thing? It
Like
is,
a
right?
dog? I thought it more like a dog, but like, I don't know. I hate it. I don't get it.
Just got to pin those ears back.
I'm Googling it, like the source.
I think it's cat. My guess would be cat.
I don't know. That's too much to read.
Maybe it's a dog.
I'm sick of it. And again, not to pick, I'm not attacking you. This is a friendly chat. I just hate it. I just stop saying it. I don't know. I get it. I get the saying. I get it, but I just don't like it.
Anthony Richardson is going to be probably playing quarterback for the Colts when the Patriots play them. I think that overall that's probably a positive for the Patriots. I think they could probably win a game more easily.
Dude, can we talk about that for a second? Because we never got to talk about it on Pat's chat because we're not Colts chat. But the circumstances surrounding Richardson tapping out were absolutely insane. I went back and watched it the next day, that Monday that I learned of it.
Yeah.
And there was a play. I forget the exact circumstances, but there was a play. Someone got hurt. They went to commercials. They come back from there's like a 3-minute break. They come back from commercials. Richardson runs right, taps out. Like there was a 3-minute window for him to get his respiration back and ran one play and then tapped out like, oh, I was tired. That's the craziest thing. Like if he had been on a 13-play drive, it still would have been crazy, but it's like, well, I mean, if he didn't believe in himself to be able to have his head to make the play, then whatever. It was one play after and it's not like he ran around like Drake Maye at the end of the Titans game. He just ran right and that was it. It was to tap out after. That's crazy. So I don't know. I have some questions about Anthony Richardson.
I think that once again, not to be a millennial boomer over here, there have been some things that have happened in football this season that I've never seen before.
What you got?
So you got Anthony Richardson tapping out after a play, which like quarterbacks just don't do that.
That's like I call it the Julio Jones. I'm tired.
You had
7. I got to get off the field. I'm Julio Jones.
Tyreek Stevenson trolling Washington Commanders fans literally in the middle of a Hail Mary play, then having to run back and accidentally tap the ball to the opposing team. That's something I've never seen before, a player doing that in the middle of a play. And then I don't know if you saw this from last weekend, but the Georgia player who was jumping for joy and celebrating with Ole Miss fans after Georgia lost to Ole Miss, which led Kirby Smart to call him like an idiot. Like he was like, that was incredibly stupid. What an idiot.
I didn't see that.
He's like literally jumping for joy like a child.
Why?
Because he saw like childhood friends on the field, but it was after his team lost.
Huh.
And like as a positive, I've never seen a player like Saquon Barkley jump over someone backwards. So there have been some things I've never seen before on a football field,
and
in a positive manner.
In doing so, by jumping backwards and spinning sideways, he gained an extra half a yard and absorbed a massive shot to his back. So incredible work by Saquon on that. There's a reason people don't jump and turn their back toward charging defenders, because you get a helmet to your ribs.
I wouldn't advise people doing that, but just as another example of something that I've never seen on a football field before. But it does possibly feel generational that all these things are happening.
Have we ever seen a rookie? And maybe we have. Maybe you're the smart guy. You can have a rookie quarterback put forth a legitimate MVP season for a team that has absolutely sucked for a long time.
Like Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
No, I think that's obviously overall certainly positive. Something
like Mike Vick was exciting when he got to the NFL. Right. Did he even? He didn't even start to begin his rookie year. I don't think, because that's Chris Chandler. Yeah, he started 2 games as a rookie, so didn't see it then. I'm trying to think of, because we've seen good rookie seasons.
RG3.
He was elected. I don't know if he was like in a legit MVP candidate in November.
Yeah,
he might have been. I guess in the conversation is a nebulous enough phrase, but that's a good example. Same crappy organization.
Yeah, so. Not the hardest one to pull there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Adrian Peterson was the MVP that season. He had 2,000 rushing yards. It's a lot of rushing yards. But yeah, I mean, he didn't get any votes for MVP. He didn't get any votes for Offensive Player of the Year. And he didn't run away with Offensive Rookie of the Year either. But I mean, like, he wasn't as good as Daniels, but 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 815 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, 3,200 yards. He was damn good that year, but probably not on the same level that Daniels is this season.
I just know, there was a lot of coverage, and I did. Oh man, I'm dying. I did stat-based ones, not like narrative-based ones, because I didn't believe he was great or anything. But just statistically, the fact that Mac Jones had one of the better rookie seasons in NFL history told me there's not a lot of great rookie seasons. I think Dak, I remember, was very good. I don't know if the Cowboys sucked before he got there, though. I don't think so.
They've never really like sucked for a long period of time, I would say. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't care that all these things are happening, but I do think it's interesting that there's been so many times this season where I'm like, I've never seen that before, and it's happening. So I do think that sports and football and all these things are a little bit different. I think people would blame it on NIL. It's certainly possible. The players are just kind of thinking about themselves more, and it's good for the players. So I don't know if I can really complain about it. I'm supportive of players, but it's just kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I just wanted to change it before the end because you were saying sports, so I had another backup. Here we go. Ready?
Can't wait for a sporty backdrop. Yeah.
All right. Should be going up any second, and we like sports.
I was expecting it to be so loud.
Sorry, I don't know which one controls it, so that just is what it is.
Someone left a comment. Can you please get this kind of thing over to Blue Sky? This website is hell on earth. I have absolutely no idea if you can stream to Blue Sky, but we'll work on it. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the desire. I have a Blue Sky I made like a year ago. I don't even know how to log in or what it's like. Is it just Twitter but different?
Yep, pretty much. I think there is a character count, which is a little bit annoying after having so many characters for so long, but
it's not a bad thing.
No, it's not the worst thing.
It's not a bad thing. I need it. That's for sure.
100%. Well, I always leave this until the end, but make sure you rate, review, subscribe, do all those fun things on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, and we will talk to you guys again on Sunday night, as long as you're going to be there. Nope.
Listen.
Yeah.
We need the official prediction.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's Rams. We got an update. It's not overrun by bots and garbage. So good to know. I'm not anti or pro. I'm opposed to change generally. So you have to drag my big fat body over there. It's going to take a while. All right, Pats Rams. I'm going to pick the Rams.
Do you know what the line is?
4.5.
4.5. Do you know what the point total is?
I don't. I can get that, but I'm going to say the Rams are probably going to score 3 touchdowns. So I think they're going to score. Oh, one more point on last week. Rewatching that mic'd up thing. We gave Joey Sly credit Sunday. Probably not enough to go 4 for 4 that day. Tough day to do that.
In the Windy City, no less.
It was for the Windy City, windy. So,
wait, did I tell you that the flags are pointing in opposite directions? I think I did, right?
Yeah, we
there was no way to even predict what the wind was like.
We did a lot.
At times, even the ones on top, of the same uprights, were pointing in different directions.
Yeah, it was nuts. The mic'd up thing showed the ball moving on the ground, like it was crazy. So I would say
43.5. 43.5.
43.5. I think the Rams are going to score 24 points.
Okay.
I think it might be 24-20. Like, I think you're talking the narrow cover for the Patriots. a decent game. I think the Rams, while not being great, should be better than the Patriots. But yeah, I go 24-20 Rams.
I am going to say I would like the Patriots to prove it to me one more week before I'm going to start predicting the Patriots to win football games. So I'm going to say 2017 Rams win this one.
Pretty similar.
Defense showed enough against the Bears for me to think that maybe they can limit them to 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. And the Patriots' red zone offense was really bad last week. That's something Gerard Mayo has talked about. And I'd like to see that they can be better before I'm predicting them to score 3 touchdowns. So, yeah, 2017. I do think that this is a game where the Patriots would really benefit from a takeaway. And maybe Drake Maye hasn't had a game with no turnovers yet, right?
I don't know. You're the sports guy. I'm like the entertainment minute.
I don't think he has. So he might not turn the ball over against the Jaguars. I don't know, whatever. But like they could certainly use a game without a bad turnover by Drake Maye, which as good as he's been, we have seen some bad turnovers from him.
Real quick, because I've been listening to sports radio. I'm a former radio man myself. There's been a lot of talk about like the hosts arguing with like callers that might not even exist. And is there real playoff talk? Like, are people really cooking up scenarios where they could make the playoffs?
I got asked a question about it in my mailbag this week, and I said, I am 100% willing to be wrong about this, but that is not something that I'm going to predict at this point. There's a path. They're 2 games out from playoffs right now, so I think that's where it's coming from.
Broncos are 5-5 and they're in there, but there's so many teams in there that it seems like you're losing the plot if you do actually look that. But that being said, if they win out, they will win 10 games, as some people predicted. So it's a chance. But I think realistically, like you have this 3-game stretch. The Rams probably not going to win. Miami looks winnable. Like that team. Talk about a team that's broken. That team, and then the Colts here, like,
yeah,
they'll probably split those 2 games, right? And then you're looking at 4-9. Like, don't do the playoff thing. I don't see the good in that, right?
Says the guy who still thinks they're going to win 10 games. But no, I agree. What did you make of what Albert Breer was saying? Did you see this about the Crafts were assessing how to handle Drake Maye? I feel like everyone kind of overreacted about that a little bit. I don't know if it's it was pretty vague. So I didn't even necessarily take it as him 100% saying that they were going to be like firing their OC or anything. I don't know. It felt like people were jumping to conclusions on that one.
I heard Felger basically draw it out of him. I was going to the gym, no big deal. And I do that thing where I sit in the car in the parking lot because I don't want to go in. And so I heard how Felger sort of drew it out of Breer because Breer didn't want to say exactly that, it seemed. But if that's the case, it's one of those things where I don't necessarily blame them for wanting something more, for looking at some offensive gurus around the league that could do more than Van Pelt's doing. However, if that is what's happening and it's leaking out and people know about it, that's just sloppy and it doesn't help. After a good game to have a sort of dysfunctional bit potentially leak out there is I don't think that's what you want.
No, I don't think it is. And we'll see what happens. I mean, I think they've done a good job with Drake Maye, but I do think that at some point it would be helpful to have a little bit more creativity in the offense. But
I agree.
Overall,
16 points per game.
Yeah, they're not the most efficient and productive and explosive offense right now. Maybe they will be for the rest of the season with Drake Maye in there. But we will. Are you available? Let's just do our scheduling right now. Are you available Sunday night?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not, Doug.
There we go. All right. Well, I will return home from the game on Sunday night, and we will probably be live once again on Twitter during that Sunday night football game. So we will talk to you guys
someday blue sky, but not Sunday probably.
We'll probably not. I don't know if StreamYard has that capability, but
I'm gonna do the podcast like this from now on.
Looks like you're getting an eye exam right now. All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.